Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the video. Today I'm going to speak about how to fix skinny fat. So if you're a skinny fat, it just simply means you're not necessarily overweight. You've just got too much body fat and not enough muscle mass, okay? You might feel soft around the middle with too much belly fat, but yet you feel skinny or insecure in your clothes. Believe it or not, this was how I was for 19 years of my life. And then when I learned how to fix it, this inspired me to help others do the same. So what actually causes skinny fat? So there's a number of different things, but the first one being your training, the type of training you're doing. So respectfully, if you look at any runners or a lot of marathon runners, it's like you wouldn't call them overweight, but yet if they took their top off, they've got a bit of a pot belly and they're very, very skinny. This is because they're doing too much cardio and not enough lifting weights or resistance training. So the root cause number one, I would say, is just too much cardio, not enough strength training. Number two though, so a lot of people turn out to be skinny fat if they were previously overweight, but then they just followed a fad diet or followed a quick fix where they really dramatically cut their calories, they lost a lot of weight quite quickly, but then they just become like a smaller and skinnier fat version of themselves, simply because they did it in an unsustainable manner and they didn't do any form of resistance training. Reason number three is that often people who are skinny fat, they're overfed but undernourished. I can think of so many people that they just consume the wrong kind of foods, too many hyper processed foods, and as a result of this, they've got a bit of a pot belly, they've got too much belly fat, and they don't have a whole lot of muscle mass. And then the final two reasons, they kind of go intertwined. So one of them being just not eating enough protein, and the other one being not focused on progressive overload and actually getting stronger in the gym. So the $1,000,000 question with skinny fat is, should you cut or should you bulk first? So I'm going to break down 3 different strategies you can use. So the number one question for skinny fat is, should you cut or should you bulk? So it really does depend. If you do have abs, then you need to focus on doing a lean bulk. If you don't have abs, if you can't see your abs, you need to focus on cutting first. If you're kind of in the middle, you can do something called a body recomposition where you build fat and lose muscle at the same time. So I'm going to speak about all 3. First of all, so if you can't see your abs, usually your body fat is more than likely higher than 15%, okay? You need to focus on cutting down and losing body fat first. How you do that is, first of all, with your nutrition. Take your body weight in pounds and multiply by 15. That's going to be your estimated calorie maintenance. Whatever that number turns out to be, subtract 500 from it. So for example, imagine that you are 180 pounds, multiplied by 15, that's going to equate to 2,700 calories as your estimated calorie maintenance. So if you want to lose body fat, just subtract 500 from that, and that'll be 2,200 calories. So next up then is going to be your protein intake. Protein is going to be super important. So 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're 180 pounds, that's going to be 180 grams of protein. With your fat, then your dietary fat, so minimum 0.4 grams of fat per kilo of body weight. And then if you're cutting weight, carbohydrates, cycle your carbohydrates around your workouts. So consume most of your carbohydrates in your pre and post workout meal so you can lift heavy, you've got more energy in the gym. So KPIs for losing body fat will be, you want to reduce your body weight by roughly 2 to 4% per month or 0.5 to 1% per week. So for most people watching this, it's probably going to take you anywhere from 4 to 5 months. In fact, my client Aidan on screen here, so this transformation took roughly 5 months, but in his first 3 months alone, he lost 12 kilos of body fat. What we did with Aidan was his calories ironically were 2,200. We followed a high protein diet, we followed strength training, which I'll focus on in a moment, and we just made sure that he was losing consistently at least 0.5 to 1% for his body weight per month. Now on the flip side, if you want to bulk, you want to do a lean bulk, so your body fat percentage is more than likely 15% or below, and you have some sign of abs, and now you want to build some lean muscle. So what you want to do is you want to do a lean bulk by multiplying your body weight in pounds again by 15. So imagine you're 180 pounds, multiply that by 15 again, that's going to be 2,700. And then you would add on 300 calories to your maintenance, okay? So in this case, it's going to be 3,000 calories a day. All right, so you want to consume more calories so you're in a calorie surplus so you can gain muscle without gaining a whole lot of body fat. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they do a dirty bulk where they just increase their calories way too much. The researchers indicate usually a 300 calorie deficit is more than enough. Now from there again, protein is going to be the same when you're in the lean gaining phase. So 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Dietary fat again around 0.4 grams minimum, maybe even higher. But the biggest adjustment with your macros will be an increase in carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, especially clean complex carbohydrates, are fantastic for fueling your performance and aiding your recovery. So KPIs for a lean bulk, this is going to be anywhere from a 1 to 2% increase in your body weight per month. So for example, my client Tamim here on screen, what we wanted to do initially, because he was actually consuming way too few calories, we had to do a bit of a lean bulking phase for him. Now the photo on the left there is when he started or finished his lean bulking phase, and the photo on the right was roughly 8 months later. So it did take a bit more time. Usually though, for a lean gaining phase, it's going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 months. But again, getting stronger in the gym, it does take time, and that's how you essentially do a lean bulk. So body recomposition is where you do both at the same time. So if you don't have a whole lot of muscle mass, but you also feel kind of skinny, body recomposition is absolutely perfect for you. So how you do this is you want to keep your calories in and around your maintenance. So for example, just multiply your body weight in pounds by roughly 15. So let's just use the same example, okay? Your 180 pounds times 15, that's going to be 2,700 calories per day. You're still going to have at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Your fats again will not change at all, 0.4 grams at least per pound of body weight. And then cycle your carbohydrates around your activity levels. So body recomposition is absolutely perfect for someone who's quite new to the gym and you haven't been working out in a while, or if you're someone who's been detrained. So maybe you were trained before in the past, but you took a break for maybe a year or two and now you're getting back into the swing of things again. The downside of body recomposition is that it does take a small bit longer, but the positive is that you're not going to gain a whole lot of body fat and you can essentially lose fat and build muscle at the same time. So body recomposition is something we did with our client Paul here. Ironically enough, Paul only started lifting weights at the age of 60, which does go to show you're actually never too old to make a change. And with Paul, what we got him doing is eating more protein, lifting weights consistently, and just really being routine and structured with his diet, with his training, and just following a progressive strength training plan. And as you can see from the photos there, he actually lost weight, okay, but he increased his muscle mass, and they were just 3 or 4 months apart. Usually for a body recomposition, though, minimum 4 months and up to 6 months, even longer. Okay, so now that the nutrition is covered, we're going to speak about training. And I would argue training is actually more important for fixing skinny fat than just your nutrition, because the root cause of being skinny fat means you've got a lack of muscle across your entire body. So therefore, strength training is going to be super, super important. Now, when it comes to building muscle, okay, a common mistake a lot of people do, especially when fixing skinny fat, is they just try to do a load of bicep curls, they do a lot of core work, they might do a lot of cardio even. What you need to do, the number one thing you need to focus on is just getting stronger at the compound lifts. So there's actually 8 fundamental movements that you should include in your training program. You don't need to do these all in one day, but across the course of the week, you need to incorporate these movements. So this is going to be a horizontal push, something like a bench press, a vertical push, something like an overhead press, a horizontal pull, something like a row, a vertical pull, something like a lat pull down or a chin up. Then you want to do a squat variation, so a barbell squat, a hinge or a deadlift variation like a trap bar or a deadlift, and then a split stance variation. That's going to be something like a rear foot elevated split squat and also some core work. If I were skinny fat again starting out, the number one thing I'd focus on is just getting stronger at those compound lifts. If you increase your bench press, if you increase your chin ups, okay, if you're able to lift or squat heavier, okay, as a byproduct of that, you will gain muscle. One of the biggest mistakes people make when fixing skinny fat is they just do way too many isolation exercises. They start the gym workout with bicep curls, tricep pushdowns, and you do a lot of core work, okay? Respectfully, they can be beneficial. I'm not saying they don't have a place to play, but if you focus more so on the compound lifts and spend at least 40 to 50% of your time doing those, okay, then you can sprinkle in the isolation and accessory movement. Now, another fundamental principle with strength training is just progressive overload. So gradually increasing the weight or the load over time. So I would highly encourage you to do is track your numbers, track your lifts. And every week, okay, try to either add more weight to the bar, add an extra rep or two, or add an extra set. And that's a really good indication that if you're adding weight to the bar, you're increasing your strength, you're also going to increase your muscle mass. Now, when it comes to cardio, I'm not one of these guys or coaches that says you should not do cardio. But if you do like cardio, it's like you do if you're watching this, if you're skinny fat, what I recommend is at least a 3-to-1 strength to cardio ratio. So that could mean something like if you're doing 4 hours training a week, at least 3 hours are dedicated towards strength and 1 hour towards cardio. Or it could just be 3 strength sessions and 1 cardio session. Now, some other bonus tips. So first of all, when it comes to supplements, there's 5 supplements I'd recommend if you're skinny fat. Number 1 being whey protein, so you can increase your protein intake. Number 2 being creatine monohydrate, so you can push heavier and lift harder in the gym. Number 3 will be omega-3 fatty acids, so make sure you get a good brand of omega-3. A lot of people just get these cheap supplements. The brand I'd recommend is Solgar, at least 900 milligrams of EPA and DHA combined. Number 4 and number 5 then would improve your sleep. So what I'd recommend 1 hour before bed will be ashwagandha and magnesium glycinate. And speaking of sleep, sleep is going to be super important if you're skinny fat, because you can only train as hard as your body's ability to recover. And if you're somewhat detrained or you're someone new to the gym, being able to recover and train hard and do it again the following day, a lot of that is going to be dictated by your sleep. Other tips include take progress pictures every week. This is super important because if you're skinny fat, it's unlikely you're overweight. So a lot of your metrics and your improvements are going to be measured by your body composition, how you're actually looking and how you're feeling in your clothes. And then finally, just limit alcohol, limit processed foods, okay? Try to cut out going for a takeaway every single weekend, because respectfully, that's part of the reason why so many people have just too much of a gut and too much belly fat because they're consuming too much alcohol, they're having too many processed foods, they're having foods that are too high in refined carbohydrates and too high in trans fats. So if you're watching this video, it should be clear. Do you need to lose body fat? Do you need to do a lean gaining phase? Or do you want to do both at the same time? That's going to be fundamentally dictated by your nutrition. But one thing is that the type of training you're going to be doing, it's going to be fundamentally the same. There's no such thing as training really to lose body fat and to build muscle. You can do a bit more cardio if you want to lose body fat, but respectfully, if you're a skinny fat, okay, focus on the fundamental movements, the progressive overload with the compound lifts, and just focus on getting stronger. And if you do those two things with your training and nutrition and you stay consistent, okay, it is 100% possible to fix skinny fat, all right? And that is all for this week's video. If you want a bit more customized approach with your training, with your nutrition, just like some of the clients there on screen, that is where essentially your one-to-one coaching and Mac Lifestyle Fitness, that is what we offer. So if you're stuck with skinny fat, do not panic, okay? With the right training, with the right nutrition, with the right support, it is 100% possible to fix it, as I've shown myself and also with our clients. So you're going to have a customized nutrition plan so you know exactly what foods to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. You're going to have your own personalized training program that can be done at home, it can be done in the gym, it can be done anywhere, anytime, any place. And you're going to have one-on-one check-ins, one-on-one calls with my team and I. So we're hopping on calls, we're giving you feedback, we're looking at your technique videos, and we're just making sure you're moving in the right direction. So if that is something you're interested in learning more about, just click the link in my bio to schedule a one-to-one consultation call with me, and then we can see if you're a good fit for coaching. Please make sure finally you subscribe if you found this video helpful, and we'll catch you in the next one.